Today we're going to be seeing how will Earth change if all the ice melted.
This real-life lore video is sponsored by the upcoming film An Inconvenient Sequel. You've probably heard news at some point in your life that the Earth is warming, and as a result, the Arctic ice is melting. There is no debate that Earth is warming up. The planet's average temperature has increased 1.1 degrees Celsius since 1880, and 16 out of 17 of the hottest years ever on record have been since 2001. NASA estimates...
Like, you got to think of the heat wave last summer, where it was 40 degrees here, man. In the UK, 40 degrees? It's mental, man. Like, if you deny global warming, you are just an idiot. It is clear to see it exists. God, man,
there is a 95% probability that this current warming is a direct result of human activity since the mid-20th century, and 97 out of 100 actively publishing climate scientists agree that human activity is extremely likely to blame. As a result of this, ice around the world is melting and raising the planet's sea levels. The oceans already rose by 6 centimeters during the course of the 19th century, but they rose by 19 centimeters during the 20th century, over 3 times faster than they rose during the previous century. NOAA estimates that global sea levels could rise by up to 2.5 meters by the year 2100, which would
2.5. So it's gone up tenfold. Oh my god. Oh my god, it's gone up tenfold from before. This is why, right? This is why we need to do something about global warming, because that's ridiculous, man. 2.5 meters, that puts like a lot of places underwater. You know, 2.5 meters, you're like, oh nah, that's not that bad. 2.5 meters is this entire room. It's the height of this room. It'd be underwater. It's mental, man.
Have devastating consequences. If this happens, entire island countries like the Maldives, Marshall Islands, Kiribati, and Tuvalu will be submerged beneath the ocean and cease to exist. Their entire populations will have to be transplanted somewhere else, and this will create a situation in which hundreds of thousands of stateless people will have to find a new home. 150 million total climate refugees from around the world may exist by 2050, and
you see people complaining about immigration. A lot of the immigration that people are complaining about is caused by activity from people here, like with spying stuff like pollutes in other countries, and it's making it worse, man. It's we're to blame. You can't complain about immigration. You're to blame for the fact that these people have to find somewhere else to live.
2100, that number could rise up to 2 billion people, 18% of the global population at that time. But in an even worse case scenario than this, however, what would happen if all the ice on Earth melted? If all the ice on Antarctica, Greenland, and the world's glaciers melted into the ocean, it would raise global sea levels by an incredible 68.3 meters. Such a catastrophe would take 5...
Alright. Well, at least for me, Birmingham's double that in height, I think. So I'm safe, but for a lot of people, that's not good. That's a lot of farmland as well that's disappeared completely.
1,000 years at the current rate of ice melting to happen,
so we still got time
it would severely alter the geography of our planet. In North America, Vancouver, Seattle, Portland, and most of San Diego and Los Angeles would be underwater. San Francisco would be an island, and San Jose would be destroyed by the waves. The San Francisco Bay would greatly expand in size to completely swallow Sacramento. The Gulf of California would expand so far north that Palm Springs would become a coastal city, while on the Atlantic coast, the ocean would expand to swallow the cities of Corpus Christi, Houston, New Orleans, the entire state of Florida, as well as the entire state of Delaware, almost all of Long Island, and the cities of New York, Philadelphia, Baltimore, Washington, D.C., and Boston. South America would also...
That's like all their money gone, all their like economy finished. And America's the worst polluter, I think. It's mental, man.
To be severely flooded with 2 new inland seas existing on the continent, and the
No
cities
more,
of
no
Buenos
more
Aires,
Buenos Aires, yeah.
Montevideo, and Rio de Janeiro would
That's a
all
lot
be
of people
underwater.
lost. That's a lot
Europe
of
would be
life
one of the
lost.
most devastated areas in the world. The entire country of the Netherlands would be underwater, and so would nearly all of Denmark and half of Belgium. The British Isles would become more of an archipelago, and London would
At
be
least
totally
we're
buried
out of
beneath
sight.
the sea. Northern Germany would
Yeah, we
also
don't need
be
London.
entirely underwater, including the city of Berlin,
Jesus
and Venice in
Christ.
Italy would have long since been reclaimed by the Adriatic Sea. Istanbul would
Terrible.
also be underwater, the Crimean Peninsula would become the Crimean Island, and the Black and Caspian Seas would be connected with one another, which would mean that Kazakhstan, Uzbekistan, Turkmenistan, and Azerbaijan would no longer be landlocked countries.
At least that's a positive.
Africa would perhaps
that's
be
a
the
positive.
least severely affected continent, but Egypt would be severely damaged by
I'm-
having
I'm-
both Alexandria and Cairo going underwater. The
God.
Persian Gulf, meanwhile, would swallow the entire
I think Libya there as well will be severely affected because basically all of the people in Libya are just underwater.
countries of Qatar and Bahrain, and
You know
the
what,
city
Cor?
of Baghdad. India and Pakistan would be
Baghdad's
badly
inland as well.
damaged, but the entire country of Bangladesh would cease to exist in this catastrophe. Hundreds of millions of
Oh my
people would
God.
be underwater in China, including Beijing and Shanghai, in addition to the cities of Seoul,
So the two worst polluters on the planet, China and America, the ones that be the most effective, and yet they're still polluting the most. That's pathetic, man. Honestly, it's disgraceful. We need to do better. We need to do better.
Pyongyang, and Tokyo. Australia would be home to a new inland sea, and finally Antarctica would
That
become
might be good
more
for
of an
Australia.
archipelago. But unlike the Antarctica of today, this Antarctica would likely be habitable and easily colonizable by future humans. So what can we
That's
do
good
to
at least.
prevent this nightmare future from happening? Reducing humanity's usage of fossil fuels is perhaps the best way at mitigating
I agree.
our warming climate. These following countries produce at least 75% of their power from renewable energy resources like solar,
Oh.
wind, and hydropower. Global
Brazil's a
investments in
surprising one. There's
renewable
a lot of
energy
people in
rose by
Brazil.
57%
God, that's
between
good for
2008 and 2015. The European
that's
Union
a-
alone
that's
more than
positive.
doubled its renewable energy production between 2000 and 2013. And
It's not good
recently,
enough. It's good, but, like, it's not
195 different
enough.
countries signed the Paris Climate Accord, in which they
That's
all
everyone.
agreed to cooperate in combating global warming. While the stakes have never been higher, we are close to seeing a true energy revolution.
Alright, well, it turns out if all the Earth, all the ice on Earth melted, we'd be finished. But we can prevent it if we do better. I think we need to stop driving. We need to take more public transport, and then also we need to minimise the amount of pollutants we're using in industries. I think that's a very fair assessment, personally. I don't know, but yeah, turns out if all the ice melted on Earth, lots of people would be dead.